This is a scary story that started out as a sad story. My mom had just died, and I was still processing my grief from that. And not long after, my partner of 7 years dumped me and moved out. If she'd taken my pickup truck, I'd have all the ingredients for a cheesy country song. Well, that left me and my 11-year-old daughter, April, to fend for ourselves. The breakup brought the two of us closer, even though it felt like my world was crumbling around me. I remember having to be near her at all times, afraid to be truly alone. But, as it turns out, in those days, in that house, we never were truly alone. We lived in an old house about 25 minutes from my daughter's school, but all of her friends lived within walking distance of it. So I did a hell of a lot of back and forth travel to drop her off at school, pick her up, take her to softball practice, or to one of her friends' houses for a play date. April's best friends at the time were Ginger, Rose, and Brandy, and it seemed like I would drive out their way 2 or 3 times a day. It got to be rather tedious. After several months of this, I began looking into finding a home to rent closer to her school, her sports, and her friends. One Friday, my daughter asked if she could have her 3 besties come down for a sleepover. I figured, why not? It's the weekend. It'll save me having to drive their way for once. April was absolutely giddy about having her friends for a visit. She even helped me clean the house. She dusted while I vacuumed each room meticulously. Around dinner time, her friends arrived. Ginger's mom drove all the girls and their stuff out to our house, and I invited Ginger's mom to stay a bit, have a glass of wine with me while I served up sloppy joes for dinner. She declined, seemingly anxious to drop off the girls and go. That's okay. More wine for me. I had a feeling I was going to need it. After dinner, the girls went outside to jump on the trampoline while I cleaned up the dinner dishes, and at dark they came in and got into their jammies to watch movies. I popped them popcorn, broke out some candy bars, and they helped themselves to all the soda they could drink. It was the weekend. I wasn't about to split hairs over their sugar intake. Besides, I prided myself on being the cool mom. It wasn't like I was rolling joints for them or tapping out a kegger. And around 9, I retired with my bottle of wine to my bedroom. I could faintly hear the giggling girls and the sound of the movie being played as I read for a little while, then got ready to sleep. As I lay down with my eyes closed, I realized I didn't hear any of them anymore. I hoped they were okay, but the feeling from the wine made every part of my body feel like it was tied down. I couldn't move to check on them. I slept. Hard. When I awoke in the morning, I had a little hangover going. I'm not usually a drinker, but life had given me some struggles lately, and the wine was a coping mechanism. I got up, downed a glass of cold water and a couple aspirin with a bowl of Cheerios. About an hour later, the girls started waking up. I began making French toast for them. They went outside to jump on the trampoline again, and after they all ate and gathered their stuff, I drove them home, dropping my daughter off at Ginger's. She was going to spend the night with her now. I went back home and started to clean up from the mess the girls made the night before. I washed and put away the dishes. I wiped down the counters and the tables and did some laundry. I plugged in the vacuum and absent-mindedly started pushing the machine up and down the hallway when I noticed these circular impressions on the carpet. They were about 3 inches round and about 4 inches apart. It wasn't just 1 or 2 impressions. I turned off the vacuum and searched the house. These circles encompassed room after carpeted room. I felt a little woozy and sat down. What could possibly have made these designs, I asked myself. I started to think maybe my daughter and her friends were playing a prank on me, so I called my daughter, asked her if she knew what these circles in the carpet were. She asked, was it like a stain? I said, no. It's like someone took a circle object, maybe a cup, and pressed down on the carpet to make these marks. It wasn't permanent. I could vacuum them away. She claimed she had no clue what I was talking about. I told her I loved her and to have fun with her friend. Then I hung up. I spent the rest of the day outside doing yard work and pondering what could have possibly made those impressions in the carpet. And then I forgot about it. A few days later, I woke up and holy shit, the circle impressions were back in my carpet again. I woke my daughter up and made her come look at them. She had no clue what they were from. I again vacuumed them away, only for them to come back a few days later. This was madness. I started to look for a rental house closer to the school harder than ever now. I had told my friend Joy, who lived near the school, to look out for rentals for me too. Well, this particular friend also happened to practice Wicca and was a medium of sorts. Joy could feel the presence of spirits and actually have conversations with them. I asked her if she could come by the house so I could show her something that's been troubling me. When Joy came by, I had left a few of the carpet circle impressions intact for her to see. Joy closed her eyes and gasped. She told me a portal had been opened in my home. Joy explained that a portal can allow spirits from the other side into our current dimension. They usually occur where energy flows the most. I shuddered. Joy said that there was an elderly male presence walking throughout my home. He walks with a cane or a staff, she said, as if in a trance. He is an ancient presence, an ancient intelligence. She paused, her eyes wide, and said to me, "He is standing next to your chair." I nearly jumped out of my skin. I looked down to a spot on the floor next to me. I could see one of those circular indentations, as if made by the weight of a man leaning on a walking stick, appearing on the carpet as I watched. After I recovered from my shock, Joy told me not to worry, that April and I had the power to reverse whatever had been unleashed. That afternoon, after picking April up from school, I asked her if she had noticed anything supernatural going on in the house. I asked her if she and the other girls had been experimenting with the occult. April confessed that at their sleepover, she and her friends had played with a Ouija board Brandy had brought. She said they all felt a little sick after playing for about half an hour. They thought it was all the sugar they ate. At one point, Rose felt so uneasy she thought she might barf. The Ouija board had spelled out these words: elder, door, wizard, demoni. She also said it had spelled out the phrase, spirits come up. When they all started to feel sick to their stomachs, they stopped playing and watched another movie until they fell asleep. That night she said that she and her friends had all dreamed of a creepy old man with shaggy hair and long fingernails rising up from the floorboards. He wore a long, hooded red robe with awful symbols stitched into it. They thought he was blind because he walked with a long, crooked staff that he tapped the floor with. In their dreams, the old man leaned over them as they slept, whispering the names of demons in their ears. I asked her what were the names of the demons, and April just shook her head and said, "Please don't make me speak their names. I'm afraid they might be listening." That night we couldn't sleep. because we heard tapping noises, like the tapping of a cane or staff on the floor, or going up and down the stairs, or just next to my bedside table. The very next day, we called Joy over, and with her help, we burned sage and did a ritual cleansing of the house. And then we signed the papers to rent a different house, one that was a few doors down from Ginger's family. The new house wasn't perfect. We later found out that it too may have been haunted by the previous tenant, an old woman who had died there, but she never bothered us. What the new house didn't have was a portal. It didn't have a wizard, and none of the floors were carpeted.
Hey everybody, I'm Amber.
And I'm Maddie.
And we're Witches Talking Tarot. And we've brought you a show all about the occult.
We're talking different lores and mythology.
Yes, creature features, cryptids, aliens, you name it, we'll cover it.
Conspiracy theories.
Absolutely.
And pagan holidays and
100%.
practices.
All 8 of them. Yes.
Spiritual living, you name it.
That's right. We've got it for you. So if you want, come sit with us for a spell and let us make you laugh.
We are Witches Talking Tarot.
Thanks, everybody.
Still smoking, I see.
Still acting like I give a damn about your opinion.
There's nobody here. Nobody here, just my imagination.
Look, you either need to leave me alone or show yourself, because I'm not doing this.
You don't even know what's coming. Don't worry. I promise in the end, it will be quick.
You really don't see anything wrong with making a Coke and Mentos volcano in the dorm bathroom. Really?
No.
Nope. Listen to Seven of Hearts wherever you find podcasts.
Do you enjoy dark comedy, puns, and laughter? If so, come join two good brothers, John and Patrick, as we discuss some of the craziest ways people die. That's so bizarre, strange, and borderline comical that'll leave you dumbfounded. You can follow this podcast on all major platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. And make sure to follow us on social media on Instagram at The Dumbfounded Pod and on Twitter at TDFDPod. And remember, think ahead, don't be dumbfounded.
I'm Edward October. For more true, true-ish, and classic tales of horror and the paranormal, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to ring the bell so you don't miss anything. Or find all of our links at octoberpodvhs.com. Octoberpod, retro horror for bold individualists.